Hello, I'm Alistair Felix. I'm a designer, finding joy through creativity professionally and personally. First off, I want to say thank you so much for all the support. I got tons of messages and comments about how helpful the video has been. If you haven't seen it yet, it's basically a breakdown on how to get into game UX. I included a free Notion doc, basically a strategy guide where I'll link it below and I'll also link the video here. This week I'm traveling to New York for a work trip and I thought it'd be fun to take you along. I'll get to show you what I've been up to outside of work, what inspires me, and then answer some questions that you've been sending in. But yeah, let's go to New York. Woo! First question. How do I translate my UX knowledge into game UX? So first off, game UX is still UX. If you can strengthen your UX skills, that's already a great foundation to really any field with UX in it. The difference is that, let's say for example, you are designing in the web industry, you still need to learn and adapt your UX skills into the web industry, like learning web trends, maybe consumer behavior, all these things. So it's very similar to games. You just need to adapt into the game industry. And what that means is like leaning more into game design thinking. And I would say if it's very new to you, there's tons of videos that I would suggest that actually is in the strategy doc to really brush up on your game design foundations. There's a lot to dive into that. But I think a great place is to really play games. This actually leads into the next question. Do I need to be a gamer? I don't think it's a requirement, but it helps. I think one of the easiest way to learn about the game industry is to immerse yourself in it, like play games. There are so many different types of games that you can play now, whether it's platform based, you could play games on your mobile phone, on your console, on your PC. It really is identifying what type of game platform and then what kind of genre you want to get into. So for example, there are tons of mobile games that do match 3 games versus like hardcore games. Like you can even play like an MMO on your phone now. I think it's really identifying what type of games interest you, what type of platform that you would like to design for. And then once you are immersed in the world of games, that's when you start moving from playing games as a hobby versus you play games as an expert. Your mindset starts to shift. You're starting to think about the player perspective and how you can motivate them and encouraging them to play. So what made you want to get into game UX? Working in games, I felt like didn't really exist for me, or it wasn't a reality for me, because when I was young, I knew I wanted to be in some sort of entertainment. I grew up playing games. First game ever, favorite game, Pokemon. I grew up in Hong Kong at that time, so I had access to a lot of Japanese games. So when Pokemon Yellow first came out on the Game Boy, addicted. I just remember like playing Pokemon in the car. Like I love the fact that Pikachu followed you along. It wasn't until I started realizing I wanted to design for the entertainment industry, whether if it's animation, games, or movies. That's sort of where that dream came from. I think when I started, there wasn't a very specific game UX position. It was like graphic design or visual designer or just UI designer. It was through getting my first gaming job in a casino game, doing slot machines, being a UI designer, and then really learning on the job. I learned what game UX is, fell in love with it, and now I've been doing it for almost a decade. Has it really been that long? let's go back to day 2 of New York. So I got this question, what if I only have 1 year of experience, but the job asks for 2? So I think this is generally all job descriptions. Somehow, even if it's an entry-level position, they still require like 5 years of experience or something. It's wild. But I like to think about job descriptions as more of a aspirational or like a wish list, if you will. You don't have to follow it to a T. It's more of like, how can I align my portfolio and my resume closer to this position? I would say still apply. Like if you feel like you don't have that year or whatever the required years is, I would say still apply. I think one of the best advice I have is using self-initiated projects, like projects that you just do on your own. At first, it shows initiative, but also shows that you're proactive. And secondly, I would consider that experience because you're taking the time out of your busy schedule, really, to create a case study on games. It actually relates to the next question on how do I show game UX thinking in a portfolio without ship games? Because a lot of these projects that you just do on your own, you create your own rules, really. And I think some great projects I would recommend is one I've seen that is really beneficial is reverse engineering designs. So like pick your favorite game. You're basically playing detective and pick your favorite feature. Let's say the inventory system of some game. Try to figure out what they are trying to solve. Because if you think about it, there was a UX designer who had a big problem that they're trying to solve. And then that's how they landed on the solution. What you're seeing is the final solution. So if you were to reverse engineer it, you're basically trying to find what that problem is. And once you figure that out, how would you solve it? Like put your own spin into it. And a lot of times there are games that I'm sure you've played that you have been really frustrated with the clunkiness. Maybe it's the controls, maybe it's the experience itself. Use yourself as the audience, use yourself as your case study. Design for yourself at first, and then that's really where you start shifting from you play games for fun versus a game UX expert. I think another one is go to game jams. Like a lot of game jams, even though it's very quick in succession of like you have 3 days to make this game, and oftentimes I see that game UX does get thrown out the door really quickly. But I think this is a great opportunity to really stand by and advocate, even in these quick iterations and quick time frames, that game UX is important. It is the success of the game. You're really providing the opportunity for players to have fun, to enjoy the game, to progress, and to motivate. And then I got a lot of questions about what was your first game UX project and can we see it? It's actually not on my portfolio because I think I'm a little bit embarrassed by it. I should probably share it. I think that'll be a great next video to talk about, like where I started, critique my own case study. I think that'll be fun. My first ever game UX project was actually me redesigning, I think it was a prototype where I thought it would be interesting of how Pokemon use basically badges to gate level progression. And I thought it would be fun. What would it be like if it was a open world? What if there's no level gate? And I see this success in like Breath of the Wild. You basically get to explore the world and you realize you hit the level cap because you just straight up die. I thought it would be fun. How would it look like in a Pokemon world? I focused on the animation of how UI would animate in and out, but I think that really prepared me for the games industry. And it was really because of that project that landed me my first gaming job. But yeah, let's now go back to New York. Day 3, last day. This section might be a little more deep because it's about burnout and joy. And it's interesting that I've gotten a lot of questions on how to manage burnout as a UX designer and how do you find joy. The funny thing is that literally this channel is about that. Like, I think being in the industry for so long, I really have to define what creativity means to me in and out of work. I think it's tough because when you are in UX designer, you are in tech, you often are the bridge to the success of a product. And you are the bridge to working with different disciplines, working with different teams, really having to be the expert of the user, not just designing the experience, but understanding psychology and research. It's a lot, and it takes a lot of brain power. And what I've realized is really redefining what creativity means at work and outside of work. I think what helped me in realizing what drives me to really pursue excellence, no, but really to enjoy what I've been doing is really be in a growth mindset. There are some things that are often changing, whether it's trends, whether it's new exciting ways of how game design is changing in games, working with AI and learning new tools, Figma, even new game engines. I think there's so much to learn, and I feel like what's cool about the games industry is that it really is dependent on technology. And as technology improves, UX designers really have to adapt. And that actually is really exciting to me. I really think leaning on doing things that is also creative outside of design or outside of games. Like, I like to draw, I like to write, even making content, that's creativity. I think in the creative act, one of the things that really stuck with me is changing up your routine. That's creative too. There was something, example was like if you're used to taking a very specific route on your commute or a walk that you take, maybe turn earlier, turn later, take a different route. That's you choosing to be creative. And I thought that was really beautiful. This question is interesting. This one is like, what do you do when UX just isn't fun anymore? I think this one's a hard one for me because it's a roller coaster. Sometimes I really enjoy UX. Sometimes I really hate it. It's really a emotional roller coaster. But I think what has helped me really find what's exciting is actually adapting some of the UX fundamentals into how I live my life. It's weird to say, but like the empathy part of it is like, we're often taught in UX to be empathetic to our players, but why not be more empathetic to ourselves? Like how I would working on different projects in my life in creativity, like I'm working on, like, let's say this video, part of the design thinking is learning to iterate. I think there's a term in filmmaking called, was it Kill Your Darlings? It's basically the same, like being okay with your ideas, getting bad feedback, being not good enough, doing it again and again. I think that really is a helpful life hack. Last thing I'll say to that is really try to find out why you got into UX in the first place. You wouldn't want to go through the struggle if you didn't love it in the first place, right? Okay, the last one here is, I've tried many times. I keep getting rejected. Do you have any advice for me to keep going? This one is tough because I've been there. It's one of those situations where, you've listened to all your mentors, watch videos like this one on Game UX, and everyone has their own opinions. Everyone has their own suggestions to do and feedback and advice. And it all can seem overwhelming because it oftentimes can be conflicting. It can be just a lot. Take everything day by day because applying for a job is a full-time job in itself. If you feel like that your portfolio and your resume is strong enough, oftentimes it's not you, it's the company. I think being on the other side of it now, a lot of positions that are posted are looking for a very specific person. It's not just the skills that you have, it's really to adapt to potentially a shift in the company that happened or a person that you're replacing. I think one of the best advice I got when I was a younger designer was to really connect with other designers. I remember connecting with a bunch of designers on LinkedIn. I just cold messaged them. I think I messaged I'm exaggerating, but like 100 people, maybe only 20 responded and only like 3 wanted to, help me. And one of them was the one that actually landed me my first gaming job. And what I think that is so beautiful is that I know a lot of times when I receive messages about like, hey, can you look at my portfolio? The person that you're messaging knows what you're trying to do, which is like most likely get a referral. But I would feel like outside of that transaction, build relationships, and not just through a LinkedIn perspective, but in communities. There's tons of Discord communities now that talk about UI, UX, and games. And once you build a strong community, you may find someone that may be going through the same thing as you are. I think a lot of times this journey does feel very lonely. So having someone to talk to about what you're going through, what you could do better, is always a huge plus. Maybe I should start a Discord community. The last thing I'll say is keep going, keep trying, keep applying for those jobs. There are a lot of communities on LinkedIn where people just share open jobs. It's going to be hard, but you'll make it. I believe in you. But yeah, that's it for now. Thank you for hanging out with me in New York and sending in some very thoughtful questions, very deep. I really hope that this helps you and really encourages you to keep moving forward, to keep going, and help you feel a little more grounded to get into game UX or just figuring out your creative journey. I'll keep updating the strategy guide with these questions. So if you have more questions, definitely comment and send them in. I would love to respond and do another Q&A. But yeah, I'm planning to do more videos like this, more casual, mixing the creative journey with more of the professional lens, maybe. We'll see. So if you like this kind of vibe, hit like and subscribe. That would help me so much. But yeah, see you in the next one. Bye.